Okay, as long as you're allowed to.
You're not fishing.
Oh, I don't know the rules. I just see it happen.
You can have.
Okay.
They're gonna turn on the strobe and I'm taking introductions for you.
That's what I was like, what's going on?
We're just gonna get some background music playing.
Hey, we're having a meeting in the dark? Whoa. Everyone's in the dark. Literally. That's what Mel thought.
It's unlocked.
There's a foot stop if you just snap that with you.
Don't sit there.
Hey, Matt, was it you or Richard that fixed that iPad for that mom I emailed you about?
Oh, that's nice.
What was wrong with it?
It was locked up.
I figured it was user error, but I didn't.
It was just,
It just froze.
yeah, there was no,
Yeah, she said it wouldn't every one touch.
it, she brought it into us and I was trying to connect it to my computer equipment, so I said, do you mind if we just take it? She said, no problem at all. We walked downstairs and I got a brilliant idea to restart it through the DM application, which we did, and everything was fine after that.
Oh, good. Good.
So she picked it back up today.
Oh, good. I'm glad it worked out. Well, they're kind of mixed. It depends on the course. So just 2 in-person because there are CO classes in the major, but her other ones. She's there, yeah. She's in Akron, University of Akron. together. those
Yeah,
campuses,
definitely.
Yep. Yes, she does, yeah. And if, you know, she has boyfriends from there.
I've only ever been through the highways.
Yes.
Bob, you seriously want the main lights turned off? Just turn it off. Please don't do that.
Blackout.
No, you're forgetting us to move it forward.
That means stay where you are.
Are you working remotely? I thought, and the university is all remote still.
Well, as we say, there will be more to do.
Okay.
No specific, but like you're saying, like, I get hired as but I feel like giving minutes to the back.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll even know
Okay.
all the days.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So the meeting will come to order. Call to order, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have roll call, please? That's the roll call on the agenda.
Can you guys hear us?
No.
Check. Okay, roll call, please.
Rebecca Ellison? Here.
Joe Malott,
Here.
Dave Eagleton,
Here.
Kathy here, Nathaniel Parker,
Here.
Roger Powell,
Here.
Dave Shermer,
Here.
Gary Sproul.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to announce this meeting is being live streamed on the district website. If we can all read our mission statement together, please. To unconditionally nurture our students to be successful, proud, and prepared to thrive. Resolution to adopt the minutes of the November 18th, 2020 regular voting meeting, December 2nd, 2020 reorganization voting meeting, and December 29th, 2020 special voting meeting. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Thank you. Continuing, review and approval of the November and December general fund treasurer's reports. Okay, thank you. And we have a second. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you. Motion's passed. Next one, review and approval of the November, December activities account reports. Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Review and approval of the November and December school lunch account reports. Okay, is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passed. Okay, budget transfers. I believe there are none. Okay, moving on. Approval of the December and January general fund bill schedules. Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you. That's okay. Communications, Riverview Intermediate Unit.
They said you two.
Okay, thank you. Clarion
It's the same.
Career.
It's not on there. Oh, it's on there.
Clarion Career Center report is, last month we had an organization meeting. The reorganization took place with myself being elected as the chair of that board over there. We since that meeting have had some beginning conversations about the various contracts. There are going to be negotiations for contracts this year. They were put off last year. They were supposed to happen last year. We're proceeding with that this year to see if we can get contracts for those. And we're also going to try to offset those so that the faculty and the other staff are at different times.
Okay, thank you.
I just got a message from a parent that the YouTube video of the school board is not on or working. Is it?
Okay, legislative representative.
A couple of things. Governor did veto liability protections for schools, which is not good. Also, there was some school code changes. The Keystone exams, has waived all requirements for this year, and also graduation requirements have been put off till 22-23. That's it.
Okay, thank you. CLAEA representative.
Good evening. Thank you for recognizing CLAEA and welcoming our report. As we are all aware, our students that were able to have returned to our classrooms last Monday. All has proceeded as expected as we continue to work on adjusted schedules, classrooms, and instructional models. A brief member spotlight throughout the month of November and December, teachers by and large participated in the delivery of meals to our CL participating families. During a recent school board meeting, it stated that communication is key. So here is a quotation I'd like to share with you. You will eventually stop thinking that communication is key and realize that comprehension is. You can communicate all you want to someone, but if they don't allow different ideas and thinking, it's useless. Real comprehension has to do with having an open mind. So in the vein of communication paired with comprehension, here are 5 facts rather than opinions that we would like to share with the board. We support facts as they speak louder than opinions with no intent to offend. Number 1, the administrators of Clarion-Limestone have 92 collective years of experience with multiple degrees, certificates, and professional organizations to their credit. Your professional teaching staff, grades K through 12, has a combined 1,164 years of teaching service. That grand total of 1,256 years speaks volumes to the knowledge that is at the fingertips of this school district. That knowledge should be used as a guide, a resource, and as a sounding board for the execution of best educational practices and the development and implementation of the best models. One-size-fits-all models are not evidence of quality educational programming. Yet, insisting upon synchronous instruction utilizes a one-size-fits-all approach. Number 2, under the Board of Directors tab on Clarion-Limestone's website, it states that, quote, the Clarion-Limestone Board of Education is responsible for the hiring and supervision of the superintendent of schools and setting district policies. Number 3, from CL board policy, under the section of local board procedures, it states, quote, the board will provide uniform and consistent procedures. The constant moving target regarding educational programming does not concur with this statement. Quote, the board will give authority and responsibility to district personnel in the actual operation of the educational process consistent with the competence and responsibility of the individual. The 92 years of administrator experience speaks loudly to competence and responsibility. Number 4, from a publication entitled Essentials of School Board Guide to Surviving Your First Year, published by the Pennsylvania School Board Association. Section 1.7. How do the school board's responsibilities differ from the superintendent's? The school board is the district's board of directors and is responsible for establishing goals, adopting policy, and overseeing resources for the school district. The superintendent, consistent with the goals established by the school board, the superintendent and staff make the day-to-day decisions that affect the operation of the school district, deploying resources, assigning staff, and documenting results. In that same publication, 5.5, it states the board oversees the education of students and is responsible for school district operation, but does not directly run the district's day-to-day operations. As teachers, we constantly use data to drive instruction, remediate learners, and to create assessments. Some local data you may be interested in is gleaned from a survey given 55 of 64 members of our local association. I'm not sure that you're all aware there are 10 teachers on our professional staff that do not belong to the Teachers Association. But 86% of our membership, which would consider a majority, responded to the survey in this way. When asked, have you had any technical difficulties disrupt your live streamed teaching? 41 members said yes, 4 times or less. 5 said 5 times or more, and 9 had no issues. The second question, what percentage of your remote learners tune into your live lessons? 42 respondents said less than 25%, 9 stated 25 to 50%, and 4 had 50 to 75%. No one had above 75%. Those pieces of data are important regarding remote learners and synchronous instruction, as students are the first consumers of our product. So I think those percentages speak for themselves. I have 2 other thoughts that are from our membership. They are not just thoughts of mine. We are asking for consideration of an educational plan that aligns with the contracted workday of teachers. When this school year started, teachers were asked to teach students who attend school in person and to asynchronously teach remote students. Teachers were allotted Wednesdays to prepare for the asynchronous students. Although this did not fully compensate for the extra hours spent digitizing, grading remote assignments, which is quite a bit greater than grading hard copy assignments, communicating with remote families, etc., it did help compensate for the extra time needed to meet the requirements set forth. Since then, the job has increased 2-fold. Currently, teachers are being asked to teach students in school, teach students synchronously, teach students at home who are not attending live lessons, and prepare substitute plans and materials for the students sent to overflow rooms. In other words, those students who have returned do not fit within a classroom due to social distancing. This is in effect 4 jobs. Until today, we did still have Wednesdays to plan, prepare, grade, communicate, and pre-record lessons. Many teachers are still pre-recording lessons given the truly problematic technology in our district to meet student need, and some teachers are not permitted to teach live lessons. Today, we were asked to live stream lessons as well. We are asking for your consideration in revising our plan to more closely fit our duties to the 7.5-hour contractual day. Should we choose collectively to work 7.5 hours daily, this would have a great impact on the lessons provided and the quality of education all of our students receive. None of us want that, and all of us need to be able to accomplish what currently is an impossible workload. I'll leave you with a final thought. Please consider we are all traveling through the same storm. Students, teachers, staff, families, administration, board, and community, but we are not all in the same boat. Each teacher's boat is different based on need, content, and/or grade level, and remote versus in-school responsibility. Our administration and our board cannot fully comprehend the gravity of the demands they are making until they take time to row with each teacher and staff member. As administrators and board members, if you have not reached out to teachers and observed your plan in motion, please visit us. If you have had the opportunity to discuss the current demands with any number of teachers, Please continue to reach out to more of us, as everyone's experience in implementing this is different. Our door is open. We are ready to work together to improve the current situation for teachers and students. In addition, we are experiencing a substitute shortage. Consider signing up to be a guest teacher. Join our team and be an active part of our plan. We welcome you.
Mrs. Shook, I have a couple questions about the workload. I know it is a large workload, but my question is, back last year for the 11 weeks, were you overworked from the middle of March to May? Did you work the 7 hours contractually?
So we're having a what about conversation?
Well, I'm just asking, I want to know if you were compensated last March for hours that you were worked last year.
According to Pennsylvania School Code, all Pennsylvania educators were compensated for their hours, yes.
Okay. I have another question. I received a letter from you, and I think the rest of the board. Mrs. Glassell did not receive this letter. Was this letter that you sent to the school board on December 16th, approved and voted on and accepted by your teachers union?
I would have to ask to see the letter because I have no frame of reference to what you're speaking to.
Oh, yes, you did, because you called me about it. And I think it should be made public.
Well, the only letter that was ever sent to all 9 school board members and 4 administrators was signed by the executive committee of CAEA, and I spoke to 8 of the 9 board members regarding the letter. So
Right.
if that's the letter you're referring to, it's not signed by just me. It was approved by CLAEA, and everybody on your board and your administrators received it. That's the letter you're referring to.
Right. And I do want to read a section of it where it says, the Clarion-Limestone Area Education Association is announcing our support of scientific, data-driven decision-making regarding the continuance of remote learning. In part, that is very upsetting, and the public needs to know this. We do not support the acquisition of opinions of students, parents, community members, fellow educators, and or school board directors. Now, you said you just wanted our opinions and to work. But in this letter you sent to us in December, that the taxpayers, the parents, do not have a right to give their opinion of the situation that has been going through. And I think that is a tragedy, that you would have put that out to us and then call us before Christmas to try to backtrack. And I want this to be made public, that the public knows, and it should be part of the school record.
I'm actually glad you shared
No, I'm not
that.
done yet.
Neither am I.
You sent me a message, Mrs. Shook, that I think you need to take back. You said, I am colossally disappointed in your lack of regard for the safety of others and the unimaginable workload that you have chosen to add to the already overburdened teaching staff. I taught for 37 years, prepared to give my life for my students, and for you to say that I don't care about the safety when we were under a threat and with FBI protection and that to save the lives of our children. And for you to send me something like that, I care very dearly about what's the well-being of students, but I also care about the parents and their well-being and what they have gone through this also. And I do care about the teaching staff because I was a teacher. And I know I'm not the only one that received a message like this. And I want this to be public. It was wrong. I don't like it.
I'm glad you brought it to the public's attention, Mr. Sproul. In fact, I am colossally disappointed. So my statement is accurate, and you are the only person I sent that exact message to.
Yeah, but there hasn't got similar ones. And
I sent one other message to Parker indicating that I had concerns about the increased workload. And that is a fact. I'm not alone in that statement. When I feel as though when teachers are cherry-picked as to who opinions are solicited from, correct data is not collected. And your reference to the letter, the word acquisition is a very important term in that paragraph. Now, you might also want to include for the public information, that letter is two-sided. It's probably 8 or 9 paragraphs long. You've isolated one sentence. Acquisition means to gather or contain or draw it in. We do not support going and soliciting and asking for specific slanted opinions. Everyone in the world is entitled to an opinion, to be heard, to share their thoughts and concerns. Sharing an opinion is different than someone taking action on your opinion. And soliciting opinions is different than accepting opinions. So we don't support the acquisition of opinions. In fact, it was stated in that letter, and I stated tonight, we prefer and support facts, because facts don't offend, they don't incense, they don't agitate, cause despair, they are simply facts. And I believe interpreting a fact could be left to each person, but a fact is simply a fact. And I shared my opinion with you about being disappointed, and you have every right to not agree with my opinion. Thanks for your time.
Okay, moving on. Student Board Representative Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, I know Lassell was talking to Lauren about wanting to know what the positives and some of the negatives are. Mrs. Glasgow was talking to Lauren about some of the positives and negatives about when we were going back to school there, and I come up with some positives, and that's some of the other kids were talking about. I know the teachers have been pretty cooperative with getting the work turned in online and in person. They're getting it graded as quickly as possible, and we all understand it's going to take longer, but it's definitely working out, I think, better than when we were all just online. It seemed kind of cluster then, but now it's kind of, you have the chance to talk about it in person. Another point is the shops are up and running again, so I know a lot of kids, even some seniors, that's mainly what they come to school for, because they want to go out into the workforce afterwards. And that was a big deal for them to be able to get in and get some instruction with Mr. Kale and Mrs. Stoops and Mr. P. And another one is the hallways are free to travel back and forth. I know that was a big problem on the first day of school, and everybody's glad that that didn't get put back into play. And overall, there's just no replacement for the in-person learning, because I know personally, just going back to school, I've probably learned more past week or so that we've been back than what I did the whole time we were online. So I think we can all comprehend it better now.
And collectively, we have noticed in these short few days coming back on the 11th that large group of students have now decided to move from in-person all of a sudden to remote. We were unsure of why this was happening, so we decided to pull kids from various grade levels. So some of their quoted responses were they heard their friends were going remote, so they decided to. Wearing a mask all day was uncomfortable. They don't feel comfortable with coming due to COVID spikes. It's easier to coming to school, and they get work done in 2 hours instead of wasting a whole day. So those are some of the quotes, and we hope that these comments provided better student perspective. Thank you.
I have a question.
Can you swear again, please? Yep. Heard their friends were going remote, so they decided to. Wearing a mask all day was uncomfortable. They didn't feel comfortable coming due to COVID spikes in the area. Remote was easier than coming to school, and they could get the work done in 2 hours instead of wasting a whole day.
My question is, have you heard students talking about, I think it's related to one of the things you said, but are students talking about keeping up their GPA, and it's easier to keep your GPA up, easier to do the work if you do remote than if you're in class. Have you heard any of that?
Yeah, there's multiple reasons why a GPA could be higher when you're at home.
What would they be?
Resources are better available at home if you choose to do it, if you choose to look answers up on a test instead of kids at school that had to study for the test and they're basing all their test knowledge on memory.
Now, if it's not an open book test, that would be cheating, would it not?
Correct.
So it's easier to cheat at home, effectively.
Correct.
Thank you, that's my question.
Yep.
Thank you, Lauren and Brady. Okay, management team report. Okay, thank you. Secondary principals report.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Elementary principals report.
You know I would say something. I just have first an update on the capacity issues. When we returned in person and had to follow the 6-foot guidelines and the mask wearing, you know that there were several grade levels that we had to, even with people opting to do remote, we had to open overflow classrooms. So we are currently with any parent who had called to reinforce that they wanted their child to return to school, if they hadn't already, that waiting list that we were keeping is now empty. There's no one on the waiting list as of right now. There are some grade levels that are at capacity even with the overflow, so I will make that now. But if there are parents or students who would like to return but were not on the original return to in-person list, they were on that maybe, they kind of offered to do in-person while we were insubstantial to cut back on the numbers. Those people can call the elementary office to be on the waiting list. I will be very transparent as to whether that's a grade level that I will be adding students to or not. I thank the board for giving me the opportunity to bring in substitutes to cover that overflow room so that we could spread kids out and have more students in the building. It is true that it looks different. There are kids eating in different places. There are kids learning in different places. But they've been incredibly resilient, and the substitutes and the coverage that we're using with our staff members, they have been wonderful to try to make it all happen. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you. Special ed supervisors report.
Nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Emma, Management Information Systems Director report.
Nothing new to report.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor of Building and Grounds report.
Doing well. Our custodial staff's working very hard, and we're doing well, Dave.
Okay, thank you. Business Manager report.
I can't say I don't have anything to report, so mine might be a little bit lengthy, so. I'll try to keep this short and sweet. One thing I did want to know, usually the audit presentation is this month. I had to push that back, and that was due to timing on my part with writing a grant with Amy and health issues and a family emergency. So you will have the presentation of the final audit in February. With that being said, Amy did bring up a point, and the board has been asking, they would like financial information on a regular basis. And if you guys see, I put this, or Donna put this in your folder. And it's a lot of numbers, but I'll kind of hit the main points. As you can see, 17-18 actuals are in there, 18-19 actuals, and 19-20 actuals. And then the 2021 final budget numbers are listed. And then in green are 19-20 actual as of 12/31. So that time frame is July 1st to 12/31/2019. That is the revenue expenses that we have received from July to December. So I compare that also to 2021 actuals from July 1st to December 31st. There's a difference column so you guys can see, you know, the increases and decreases comparing the 2 years. But there's definitely different items that make those pictures look different. We had some grants last year that we won't have this year, but I want to bring to your attention, I know Amy's going to talk about this later, we had a substantial amount of money in CARES Act grants this year. If you look on page 2 of 5, it's in the 8,000 categories. I have it in red. And you can see if you go clearer to the blue columns, that is the estimated 2021, what I'm thinking as of today. And you can see those amounts listed there. We will get in the CARES Act funds. Those total, I'm going to round it, around $418,000. We have received all of those funds, but we have received a big portion of those. Amy is also going to talk about another grant that we have to write, and it's a substantial amount of money. I don't think it will be on this 2021 fiscal year. I think we'll see it on next year's, but that's something we will decide more in budget time. If everyone doesn't understand grants, we have the grants, but we have to spend the money. So you are seeing an increase of $418,000 in revenue, but you're also seeing an increase of $418,000 in expenses. On page 1, I do want to point out we have received all of our tax collections for this year. January, they have to be in and return to the courthouse for any uncollected tax. I guess I know we were all nervous about how it would look with COVID, and we have to thank the community and all the taxpayers. It turned out to be a good year for tax collections. Normally, we see a tax collection rate of 92%. This year, we saw a tax collection rate of 93%. So it's about $27,000 more than estimated in the budget. When I'm looking at occupational tax, that's another big category that we are concerned what would happen in that category just because of all the unemployment. We have seen an increase of around $11,000 this year. I did not increase that for my estimate. I just left it as is. I don't know what to expect for the next 6 months. But right now we're not seeing an increase. Another point I wanted to bring up to you, and I see I have a spelling error and I apologize, but item or function 6153, revenue, you'll see increased $50,000, and that was due to the sale of 76 truck stop. So in actuality, we have about $77,000 more in revenue than budgeted prior. And I know Dayton always asks me this question. What do I expect the year to come out as? And I always say, as accountants, we don't like to say that number and be held to it because we really don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months with accruals and those types of things. Right now, I am projecting around a $6,000 loss. We were at almost $163,000 loss budgeted. You guys can look down through that if you have any questions. I'm going to try to keep this up every month. I do want to make note, as you do see that we have grants of $418,000, that has been a huge management, time-consuming, overwhelming process that a lot of the administrations and the staff and everybody's pitched in trying to get ideas and understand our needs and to monitor that, manage that, do the quarterly reports on that. That is a lot of time, but we're very thankful to have those funds. So it's CARES Act. It's CARES Act money. Yeah. So it's federal, it's all federal. I don't know if everyone understands the resolution that is on the agenda to vote on today. This resolution is to vote to not raise the taxes above the index. Clarion-Limestone's index for this year is 4.2%, I believe. So what that's saying, if you would vote no against that and you would want to go above the index, you could raise taxes above the index to exceptions or referendum. So I don't believe has ever done that, and I don't plan on ever doing that, and I wouldn't think they would want to do that either. We never know what's going to come down the pipe later on in the years, but that would raise the millage for around 4.2%, but you could go above that if you vote no to this. So the resolution is to not to go above the index. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions about that. Yeah. Oh, which one? Oh, not the resolution.
Some of the CARES Act money, we pulled stuff out of the budget and bought, we did some different things back and forth, so I left that time to just people I'm not talking about it at this meeting, maybe next week.
Oh, yeah, but the resolution has to be passed tonight. Oh, okay, I didn't know what you were talking about. No. Right, and I'm not expecting you to have all your questions. I'm just presenting that this is, you look over it and you can ask additional questions. Other than that, I think that's it. Amy?
Stephanie, I have a question on 610 on the third page. We had, for general supplies, we had budgeted $361,010. Going clear across to estimated 1/2021. Why is it clear up this almost 763,000?
That's where the majority of the grant lies, under that fund, under that object code. All the cleaning supplies, all the computers, all the electrostatic sprayers. So most of the grants are considered a supply. Oh, let me restate that. All the CARES Act fund money is, the expenses are considered supplies. Thank you. It's hard for me to sit and talk, so I'm going to stand up. I first like Mr. Aaron. I'd like to compliment the ADs and Mr. Aaron. They have purchased a system so that we can live stream our games and parents can see those. Mr. Aaron, if you're not prepared to share a little bit about that, I apologize. I thought you'd bring that up. But it's a wonderful thing for our school district, and they researched that, and it's on its way. I haven't gotten an email that it got here, but do you want to talk a minute about what that will mean for our school, just even with dance rehearsals or a program and our sports?
Previous to this point is, when we live stream, we have basically a camera or an iPad, and there's one person up there, maybe in some instances we've had nobody moving it. What this system is it's a Pixelot system, has two cameras in it that are connected to a computer, and that computer has a rhythm in it to follow the movement of the ball. So basically, what you're going to see at a football game up the stadium is you'd see it following the play. in basketball, it's gonna go back and forth across the court. It's hooked up to be able to connect to our scoreboard. It'll show the live score with it, so people have been at home when the person on it doesn't see the scoreboard, they don't show up for a while, it's going to show the information. This was actually, we were able to put it in with the CARES Act, I believe. So it's, again, another thing that's been helping out. And in fact, the boxes came this afternoon. So they're sitting up in my office. I believe they're coming to set them up, what was it, 28th? So we're hoping that, they say it'll take about 2 days to kind of get everything in with the computers, so it runs the way it's supposed to. Supposed to run a little bit of practices and stuff with it. And we're hoping by the 30th we'll have some nice games running through. They will run through the National Federation of High School Sport, their website. There will be a fee for that, but it is the same fee that would be for 2 adults to come to one game. For that price, you'll get every game we have here for a month. There is a year thing, I don't remember what the cost is on it. And we are trying to convince other schools to go along with the Pixel-Lot system, because any school that has it, you can follow their games. So I talked to one guy at Big Spring High School, and he was pointing out, he said the one thing he loved about it was Peyton Manning's son was playing football down in Louisiana, and he could watch every single one of his games. So like you get the option of being able to watch other school games. Our coaches, it hooks up to for Davey, it hooks up the Huddle. So everything that they do with Huddle will run through the system. It will keep all the stats, it will keep all the information for them. They can run practices through it. We personally can anything that we want to with it that doesn't run with sports. We can have, if we would ever want to have graduation in the gym, we could have it televised through that. We can run dance recitals in the gym through it. If we want to do just an activities day and have stuff down there where it's, they move the talent show in the elementary school to the gym, then people would be able to watch it from there. So basically, once we get it set up, we can kind of connect it. If we put the board meeting down there, we could run it through the Pixel system, but then not in the charge part because it wasn't sports.
What was the cost of it?
It actually ended up being zero to us because of the CARES Act.
That is cost.
Yeah, I know. It, because I went through a training thing with them and watched stuff, we got the cameras for free. Those were $2,500. I believe the setup is $2,000. Yeah, and that's for the football stadium and for the gymnasium.
$2,000?
Yeah, total.
I just think that's a wonderful thing, and even post-COVID, because of course as parents we want to watch our children play and be in sports and in a play, acting, but we also have older parents, grandparents that on a cold winter football game night, they will be able to sit at home and watch it, and it will be very clear. It's very much better picture and quality than we've had. So I commend them for researching that. I'm very excited about it. All right, just a couple other things. I was, we had, at the last board meeting, it was asked for Steve Davis, the president of Clarion Hospital, and he's the Chief Integration Officer of Butler Healthcare System, and Dr. Love, who is the doctor at Butler Health System in charge of the epidemic coronavirus. And they were unable to come tonight. However, our county commissioners and our superintendents in Clarion County have met twice now by Zoom with those specific people. And talked to Fred Port today, or this week, and he said, just share the points of our Zoom. And really, the Zooms are 30 minutes. They're very informative. There is no right or wrong answer. And I just wanted to share a couple things that for the public to even be aware of. When we met on January 4th, Dr. Love said there were some ways we are better than where we were 10 months ago, and some ways we're worse than we were 10 months ago. The 1A group people are getting their vaccine, and of course those are the doctors and nurses in the lines. Our school nurses, you'll be happy, were also a part of that, and they were offered the vaccine already. And the next time we met, which was this week on the 18th, there are still that A group people that have not gotten the vaccines. And I want to share this with you as a community because I can see this being a concern, and the hospital has asked us to reach out to you. Penn Highlands and Du Bois is getting a lot, many vaccines. Why? Butler County system isn't getting as many, they're not sure. So what I want to share with all of you is saying, okay, well, Brookfield teachers got their shots, why don't Clarion-Limestone? Du Bois teachers got their shots a month ago, why don't any of us have it? So his message, he wants you to know, it's not because they're not trying, and they're not quite sure what the system is. So their very best, and that might happen. North Clarion might get their teachers vaccinated before we do. However, we are getting our teachers vaccinated or offering it to them next week. I don't know if Greta's here. We were very lucky and blessed that Means Law Pharmacy in Brookville, they called us, the owner, she's a CL resident, and they are coming to us, to our school district next week to give the vaccine to our staff. Other school districts haven't had that luxury. I appreciate that she's going. The other piece I want the community now, and this is just a medical fact, be very cautious of where you go to get your vaccine. Already, the hospital wanted me to share, there are people out that are giving something that may not be totally given from the government. So there is a provider chart, a health provider, and it's on the website for Department of Health. And I would highly encourage you to go there if you plan to get it. I mean, you honestly want to trust your doctor, but I had other people call us that I didn't know who they were, where they were from, and I looked and they're not on the provider list. But I want to assure you that Means Law Pharmacy is on the provider list, and just to be cautious of that. And another big issue is when you do get the vaccine, they are not saying to stop wearing masks and social distancing and those kind of things, because they have yet to figure out how long that is happening. So even though our teachers are getting the vaccine, doesn't mean they will have their masks off. We will be following the guidelines that we need to follow. And one last thing on that is Dr. Love wanted me to share to please the DOH guidelines for quarantining. They pretty much feel like they've got that better under control, and it seems to be helping. So I'm happy to report that we have no students in the district that we are aware of that are positive. I think you can attribute that to all of the hard work the administration and the teachers have done in separating and making sure that that distance is there. So if there is a case, we are not going to have to quarantine an entire class. So I think, and the other thing I want to talk about was the ESSER fund. In Steph, was it? We got the first round of ESSER funds, and those are federal funds. We received $225,687. And in some of the numbers she has there. I just received notice yesterday that the ESSER second round of grant money, it's open in e-grants. It is going to be distributed. It has to be spent, and you'll hear why, you'll say, why so far away? But why when I tell you the number? It has to be spent by September 30th of 2023. 2023. The amount that we are going to receive, is $920,967. Now the reason I'm sharing that is a couple reasons, but I really want to understand, for the board to understand, to be thinking, you can use this money for all the things we've already used. If we need more, blah, blah, we have thousands of things we've done with this ESSER. But they have added 3 more categories for this funding. And one of them is to make facilities, to improve facilities to reduce the risk of COVID. What does that mean? Could be a lot of things. Do we want to build another classroom? I mean, I'm just saying this out in the open. This is an example of something you can do. But to make the school facilities and improvements. In second category, improve the quality of the air in the buildings. Bob would be first to tell you that our windows are really much needed. That money can be used to replace our windows. That isn't cheap, but that is something we may want to do with that. Third thing that I really want to push, and we will have to talk together as administrators and teachers and school board, is addressing the learning loss that may have occurred, or we know has occurred, from all of this. So how do we address that learning loss? One way you can do that is have an extended school year for every student that's struggling. Right now, it's IEP students that get that. We can make our own summer school for that. We can have Saturday classes. I mean, I'm just putting this stuff out there. I love, love, love when people think outside the box and think creatively. So that's important for us to know, because we'll again be working on the grant, writing that grant, $920,967, or $920,000, So, great, yes.
Do you have to actually write the grant?
Yes.
Or is it your money to use, but then you have to show where the money is being spent?
No, with every grant, in fact, before Stephanie told me the amount, when I got this email, I sent to her, we can't write one more grant. We, along with the administration, Max, have written many, many grants. Worth it when we've gotten every one of them. And this is another one. Yes, they are very picky on those things. Even if you don't have to say, okay, I'm going to buy one fan, one mixer, whatever, they will want an idea of, in that category, what you're planning to spend. And you have to do that because you have to get certain bids if you go anything on certain items. So
I was under the understanding when I read this, because I read this on Monday also, that we could go clear back to our budget in March of 20.
yes.
And anything we spent could be used this money for. So that way, we could possibly recoup to be able to get other things that we might need. Am I correct on that?
That is correct, and we had that right here to say. We back to March 13th,
through September 30th of 2023.
Well, this one, I don't know about this one. We're the ones putting these in place.
Well, this one can be.
Yeah.
Other ones,
This could be even used for the extra subs we're getting.
Right,
now.
which we're using
It could be
now.
used for any that we paid transportation for than what we get allocated back from the state.
which we did that in one of the.
All of that this can use for. So we can essentially pay ourselves back money instead of spending additional money, is what I'm saying.
On the school.
Yes, but even doing that, we're going to have some money.
And this one, I believe, is an E grant. Like, when Amy was talking, some of them are an E grants and some of them are in PC grants. And PCCD E grants is so particular, we have to put every single item at every unit cost, which is extremely.
This is pretty wide open
Yeah,
from what I see.
so, because I think this one is E grants, which we can lump stuff together and not so
Right.
complicated.
And the other thing I'd like to say, that's a great idea, to buy this camera system. But any purchases that go through anything like this should be court approved because it's taxpayers' money, even if it's a grant.
Well, I think Donna, we had this conversation, Donna, you can clarify if I'm wrong. I thought that's, in the years past, at Clarion-Limestone, that's why, which it can change, I'm just saying, but that's why that motion was on the agenda every year, is that correct? As we talked before? Can you explain that motion to me?
But the board still have to approve what the grant is being spent. Am I correct on that? I'm asking Amy, and
I don't think that's, I think you have to do that.
I think it should be because it's taxpayers' money. It can be replaced with what we're taking from our taxpayers to pay other things and anything financially. I mean, I said, listen, people say we shouldn't be part of the education. We are elected by the taxpayers to watch the money. That's our number one goal. So I think that anything spent out of the grants or out of the taxpayers' money, that the board should be aware, it's either in the budget or it's purchased outside the budget.
And I don't disagree with you, we can do that, but even when we have conversation about the computers, even Ms. Manuel agreed, like, I remember the statement was, the grant is already approved, we approved that they can use the grant.
Where they feel they need the grant. If you want to see and approve all the items in the grant, we can do that, but that wasn't the conversation prior because of that motion being approved.
900,000, even 400,000 is a lot of money, 900,000 is twice as much.
Right,
And we should be, as board members, looking out where this goes, for the taxpayers.
Amy did state, I've said, teachers, administrators, the board, the community, we will welcome many ideas. And, you know, we just got this, it's not going to be tomorrow, but I assume there will be, we could get a, hate to say it, but a committee together. But, you know, where the task force committee can be a part of that decision. We would never buy something like Windows and not, with that money and not tell you. It is government money, it's not taxpayers' money, but the taxpayers' money is being
But I'll set the
placed.
taxpayers'
That's right.
money, and whether
Right.
it's government money or taxpayers' money, who pays government the taxes? The taxpayers.
Okay, so can I just add one more thing? And this is something our school, all school districts are very concerned, and I actually was on a Zoom call with Senator Dush yesterday. I just want to share with you that the Commonwealth, Pennsylvania Commonwealth Charter Schools received $13,034,000 in these funds. These are students that don't even go to a school where they need the PPE supplies, and we are not happy. This is what we keep talking about with charter cyber schools and cyber schools. It's killing the small school districts. I'm going to say this again, and whether you agree with it or not, Us starting our cyber program 2-3 years ago has saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can tell you that for a fact. And I'm glad that we did it, but we need to now look at other options even for elementary at this point, because we don't want to lose our students. But if they're not content with where they want to be, they start to like that wanting to do the cyber, we have to be able to provide something else where they will go and we will pay. All right, the last thing, finally, I'm sorry I talked too much. It is School Board Director Recognition Month, and I just want to give you a few tidbits about the school board director position. There are school board elections held every 2 years. All school board directors are elected to a 4-year term. Our school district board representation is comprised of 3 regions. Each region has 3 representatives. 57% of all districts involve students at their local board meetings. We are very happy that we have 2 students on our board, a member of the junior class and a member of the senior class. School directors are key decision makers on issues such as school safety and security, budgeting, policy, hiring, and textbooks. And as you know, and if you didn't, it's important for you to know, all this is voluntary without any pay. So we have made signs for each of you. Thank you for going the extra mile, and provided you with some extra chewing gum. And we thank you very much for all you do. And Lauren and Brady. I'm done.
Amy, could I ask a question?
Yes.
I wanted to chat or have an understanding, I think the public will want to know too, that we heard from the student reps about the cheating issue. I've heard that from several parents. If it's ongoing, that assurance that we're doing something to address that, because it seems like we got to get that under control.
Yes, actually the administrators met yesterday. We've met twice in the last week, so if Mr. Edmonds or Mr. Aaron would like to, we've talked about Mr. Lowry. I believe when everyone gets a one-on-one device, we are purchasing a program that the colleges use so that students are not able to cheat. That's one thing, but in the interim, I know that Mr. Aaron and Mr. Edmonds have some things that they can tell you that they've asked. Again, the teachers have to do this, but they're very appreciative and will do it. So if you don't mind.
And reaching out to different universities and trying to find out, especially if they...
No, it's hard to hear what...
Okay. Personally, I reached out to different universities, ones that work in a lot of remote learning, Penn State, Michigan State. I even talked to a local person with Clarion University. And we used what was in there to give teachers a heads up on things that they use. A lot of it is a policy, basically telling them that the cheating policy, the teachers will remind them what happens if they were caught, and he said that is one of their prime things, is basically reminding people every time you take a test what the standard is. Other things we've asked them to do, and many have done this, is getting away from a traditional test. Traditional tests are a lot easier to do cheating on in-house and out-of-house, because I did know, I spoke with Lauren, and it's not that cheating's not happening in the building either. Part of what wasn't reported there, and I don't know if the students realize because it's not something we broadcast, there are easier ways to catch people cheating online too. I've actually increased the number of cases that have come to my desk that have been caught, so I don't know if as much of an increase of participants as maybe it is the ease in which to catch it, because now with Google Classroom, it will, if you set up tests and assignments correctly in a manner, like if you're trying to catch somebody cheating, you can get it because it will document everything that they say and do. We did look into some programs. I don't want to say the things that I saw as drawbacks on those programs, because that just, if somebody hasn't thought of that idea, I would just give you another idea. But a lot of it, we talked about it before, a lot of it relies on parents going, yeah, my kid could look up everything in the world and get 100% on the test, but are they going to be able to go and understand it? Like the day and age when they come back in this building, there's going to be a time where they hit a wall, and that's what I fear is if a parent or guardian would know that that's going on. I hope they realize that there will be a point in time where the kid doesn't have the basis that they need.
Right, I agree. I guess I'm just wanted to state publicly, in my opinion, just as one of the 9, I want us to be very aggressive. If you need more resources, let me know, because I think it's frustrating. If I was a student and I was putting in the work, getting beat in a class rank by somebody who's cheating, it infuriated me. And so I really sympathize with that. I think if people get caught, I think they need to know there's going to be a very severe consequence for doing it. And that's just my 2 cents.
I think, Mel, years ago, we had some training on a lot of this. We had our clause systems, and there are programs like turnitin.com and some other ones. I'm sure there's better ones even than that. We've been on 60 Minutes. And the teacher puts the assignment in it, and it'll check for plagiarism. And they use it at universities. We used to use it even here at one point. You pay for it, naturally. But it'll catch that kind of cheating. But I think it goes back to test design and implementation. You have to think outside. You can't have old school tests because they can cheat. So you need to go with projects and different assignments and things that are difficult to cheat on. Project-oriented things, that projects are specific to each student, that it's their project, it's nobody else's. So those are some mechanisms to mitigate some of this stuff. But I guess on a math test, 1 + 1 is 2. Some of those things I don't know how you can mitigate, but I'm sure there's mechanisms to at least attempt that, and try and mitigate that. And people that are caught, it's dishonest, so they should be punished or failed, whatever,
And Max has done a great job as teachers of research. Like the teachers have done an awesome job of seeing where their need is and letting us know. And then Max and I've looked at like what the best add-ons are. We send it back out to the teachers, and Max has been great about getting these add-ons on that actually do what we need them to alleviate some of it. But there are some major behaviors that the only way they're going to be alleviated is by parents. Like parents are going to have to say, hey, wait a minute, why are you that? Because it's fairly obvious what would be being done.
Thank you, Mel.
Yep.
And just to say, we're not done with that conversation, because I'm not settled in my answers. So.
Okay, I just thought the public would appreciate hearing that, because again,
Yes.
I don't think, just because we didn't have an agenda item, I don't want them to think that we're not doing anything about it.
Right, no, we are.
Okay, moving on here, executive session announcement. Executive session was held on January 13th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. for the purpose of collective bargaining and personnel. At this point, we will have public comment period. If you do have a public comment, please state your name, your township where you live in this district, and try and please keep it to 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, is there any public comment? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Chris Boozer, and I'm from Limestone Township. The concern I have is, and I wrestled with even bringing this up this evening, is my daughter's iPad that she got from the school. It's basically not locked down at all. There were some very disturbing things that I saw on there that I didn't want to see, and I'm 32 and she is 6. I just can't fathom how this happened. Like, it wasn't even on kids' version or anything. It was just some very provocative stuff. I have pictures and stuff on my phone. If anyone would like any evidence afterwards, come find me. But it was discussed today, and it was addressed by the IT staff, and thank you for that. But I don't like the way that was handled. It should have been handled more professionally, instead of trying to blame the teachers or blaming my wife whenever it was brought to your attention. I'm totally fed up with it. And then using COVID as an excuse. I'm sick of hearing about COVID as an excuse. What if COVID didn't exist and this YouTube is still open for children to see anything? I thought our goal was to trust you with our children, okay? I don't know how I can trust you now, and I don't know how this fell through the cracks, and it's been, 5 months now that she's had this iPad, and I just now discovered it. How many other kids have just been cruising around? And I think it's definitely a liability issue that should be discussed. Is there any further questions or anything anyone has?
I guess I have a question for Max. Do we have like Securely or Google Safe Search and those kind of things built in? I know a lot of schools use them that blocks this rubbish.
The content filtering that we're using is Securely.
Is it on the remote devices that go out?
Yes, it is.
So those images or whatever got through securely?
I can't answer that question without having an iPad, without having it outside the district and actually doing some evaluation to see if there is a problem and what we need to do to fix it.
Okay, well, maybe we need to get that iPad in, or let them look at it, and we got to figure out a way to block that down. That stuff should definitely be blocked down. I'm sorry that occurred to you and your family.
Yeah, because, I mean, when I was in school 15, 20 years ago, that stuff was so locked down, you wouldn't have been able to cruise around YouTube like that. I think it's just unacceptable nowadays for this to happen. And why was YouTube unlocked like that? And it actually goes against YouTube's user policy, because they state specifically that no one under 13 should be allowed to use that.
It was requested by employees of the district that those iPads go out with the YouTube app installed on it. I followed the directions from the district employees that requested it.
But you're going to ignore all the laws and regulations and safeguards that should be in place here?
I can't answer that question right now.
Of course you can't.
Well, Max, I know where I work, we have stuff blocked out of YouTube and, through Google, okay, because Google owns YouTube. So when they go in, it blocks even my teachers out of certain YouTube things. Is that enabled on these devices, or?
We can enable that, and next month we can stand here and listen to 13 teachers go, why can't I get on YouTube?
Well,
So
no, they
it's
get
going
on
to be
YouTube,
difficult
but
for us.
it'll block down certain things, correct?
Dave, I don't know the ins and outs in every single setting inside the content filtering system.
I'm just going to let the board know that myself, Mrs. Stiller, and Mr. Lowry talked on the phone with Mrs. Boozer. I appreciated her taking our call because many times parents don't take our calls. They want to do it through an email. Felt that we came to a consensus, and Mrs. Boozer agreed to that. I told her what we are going to do, and I can share that whole long story in public, but I feel that that is a situation that I'm disappointed that you would come and not let me know that you weren't happy with what the result was, because when we left that conversation, that's what it seemed like. What I really like is for Mr. and Mrs. Boozer to meet with me and Mr. Lowry and Mrs. Taylor when we're capable of doing that, if we have to do a Zoom, whatever we can do to straighten this out. Because none of us that were in that meeting were inappropriate and blamed COVID and pandemic. That was the perception that was received from Mrs. Boozer, and we then talked about that. So I'm right here to tell you, the board, I was pleased with the ending result. If she wasn't, she needed to tell me that. And I'm really not sure this is the place. That's why I'm saying I think we need to talk as a family. But it's up to the board.
Mr. Boozer, did you go through the channels? So like principal before you went up?
Yes, that's, it gets talked about to go to the principal first, and that's what she did. And then it got elevated to you, Miss Glassell, and my wife seemed like she was kind of berated for going through those, the way she did. And they felt that she was attacking them, but I read the email, and I have a printout right here if anyone would love to take a look at it later. I don't think there was anything threatening, or she was just asking for a simple acknowledgement. It didn't seem like it was being taken seriously at first. That's, I guess, what upsets me the most.
Were you asked not to bring this to us?
No.
Yes.
Thank you.
Asked not to bring it?
Not by you.
Okay.
Was the problem resolved with the Boozer on your daughter's computer?
Yes, and that's why I said thank you for taking care of that. That was removed, but I just don't see in this day and age how young children should be allowed to openly. And we asked our daughter, like, how did you get this stuff on here? She said, oh, it was just on the side. So they can click around in there without any kind of safeguards. I just thought that the board should be made aware of this is what's happening with this remote stuff. And furthermore, the PA Department of Health says that all elementary kids should be back in school. I didn't read in there anything about remote Wednesdays or anything of that nature. So I think that should be considered as well. We should be back in 5 days now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Boozer.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, is there any other public comment?
Okay, Dawn Kegley from Clarion-Limestone. I know COVID's real, it's here, but I just want to verbalize how upsetting it was as a parent, my student, hearing at the last board meeting that we were going to give children the option to come to school or stay home. Then we get a one call asking if at all possible to keep our children at home. Why? Why are we asking? Like, I know certain families that then were questioning, well, if they're asking us to stay home, is it really safe to send our kid back? Why are they sending us back if they're asking families to stay at home? Families are already struggling enough, let alone make a decision. Should I send my kid or should I not? Families are struggling, period, let alone to make that kind of a decision. And as Mr. Boozer just said, where does it say that we can't bring every student back to school, let alone 5 days a week? And then the first email we received, it said, we cannot maintain 6-foot distancing and bring every student back. I want to know where that is at, saying we cannot come back if we cannot maintain 6 distance. Because I have it right here from the Department of Health. And I look at these every day, and as a matter of fact, this was just updated January 7th of 2021. It reads, when students engage in in-person instruction, must they maintain 6 feet of physical distancing at all times? And it reads, all pre-K to 12 schools should implement strategies that limit the number of individuals in classrooms and other learning spaces and interactions between groups of students. All schools should have protocols for distancing, students' desks, seating, and other social distancing practices that allow 6 feet separation among students and staff throughout the day to the maximum extent feasible. So, I mean, if you're trying, I think that would be okay. It's not going to be feasible to keep every kid 6 foot, but they're wearing their mask, which I know they are, because it has been brought to my attention too that students are, at least in my child's grade, is not allowed a mask break, that they took the barriers away. So I'm kind of confused about that. I mean, if you're not allowing mask breaks, take the barrier away. I mean, these kids need mask breaks. And it also states in the Department of Health that they can have 10-minute mask breaks, as long as they're 6 feet apart. The other thing I'd like to bring up is, in the same question and answer on the Department of Health website, it says that, is there evidence to support the safety of elementary school students returning to in-person instruction? And it says right here, you can read it, yes. While it is impossible to eliminate the risk of disease transmission entirely within a school, when the community spread is present, recent studies have shown the mitigation strategies, including masking, physical distancing, and hand hygiene is adhered to, it may be safer for younger children, particularly elementary grade students, to return to in-person instruction. Also, in that same question and answer, it says, are the recommendations for pre-K to 12 schools in determining instructional models mandatory? No. They are guidelines. And as a matter of fact, I had a family member who called and asked to return her kids to from virtual learning to in-person. Obviously, she didn't get the email. She was taken back by saying she would need to be put on a waiting list. First of all, this is public education. I'm not sure why we have waiting lists for her to come back to in-person learning. She had kept her children home due to a work issue, and she got it figured out. But she just felt really perplexed by having her kids being put on a waiting list to come back to in-person learning. I don't know what else to say, but I really feel like these kids need to be back. Bring them their normalcy back. COVID is here, I've already said that. They could keep the 6 foot distancing, the masking, this could be years. Why not try to merge into what has been normal before COVID? I mean, I don't understand. My child came back to school, he was thrilled. He's doing well, he loves school. But he still doesn't understand why he has a completely different homeroom teacher with only 11 kids in it. I don't know, and I don't have the answer for him. I don't know. But I know other schools around here have gone full force. Everything is going well. Yes, there are quarantines. There are going to be positive cases. That doesn't matter. Putting them in a different classroom, that's not going to stop someone from getting it out in the community. So I really think normalcy is what needs to happen here. We need to get back to 5 days a week, and we need to realize that the Department of Health is not going to come in and close the school down, because that's what my sister-in-law also was told. That if they didn't put her kids on a waiting list and there was too many kids in the school, per square footage, I'm not even, I searched for that too. I'm not sure where the guidelines are for square footage and having kids in the building, that they would close the school down. I don't think that's going to happen according to what the Department of Health and the Department of Education are recommending. That's all I have.
Is there any other public comment?
Hi, I am Lisa Miller from Limestone Township. I typically do not come to these meetings because I work in the evening. However, some things that were said at the last meeting were very upsetting to me as a parent, and I felt it was important to address them. So as a parent, I want to thank the board for allowing our kids to go back to school, whether it be a directive that was required to get these kids back in school, or however it was. Thank you for voting that way, because the kids do need to be in person. With that being said, I am very disappointed that our administration is not willing to collaborate with other school districts in our county, but they are willing to listen to what is happening in Pittsburgh. What is happening in Pittsburgh is not what is happening in Clarion County. You will collaborate on sports, you will collaborate on other things, but trying to get the kids in person and finding out what these other schools are doing, you just flat out said, no, you're not doing it. As a parent, that is not acceptable. If you're willing to collaborate on other issues, this is an important issue you should be willing to collaborate with other schools on. And I feel you do need to talk to them. I feel the administration does need to talk to the other schools to find out how it's working. Another note, it was clearly stated, which is very, very disappointing, by our president, that he would not read any emails that were sent him. Those are public comments. That is exactly what you said.
I read any email that was in the Donna on the projected date.
Whether a person sent it to you privately or not, if a...
my email is private.
I'm disappointed in that. I'm disappointed that it was clearly stated that. Are you saying that if you're out in the public and somebody comes up to you that you have to tell them, no, you can't listen to that until it's...
I listen to anybody. I've always have.
Right, and I'm saying...
I have a private business email account for that. And anyone who wants to contact me can call me on the phone, come and see me. I've had people come to my house, or they can email Donna, and she's given me.
Okay, I'm just saying, I was disappointed in that. As being elected in my particular...
I money for that email
in my particular...
I have government security clearances for my business, and I have to have that private.
Okay, then maybe it would be...
The school, there's a new law, it isn't implemented yet, but it has been passed, that the district is supposed to issue us public email addresses. That's fine. It hasn't been done yet, because there's a timeline of that. But that law has been passed, and in the future, we're all going to have them. And you can email all you want to those.
Okay, that is something that I had asked, because I did send in a public comment last month, and I did ask if the board members had individual emails that I could send it to, because I felt it was important for them to read it prior to the meeting, since I was not here to actually present it, so that it wasn't read at lightning speed. So that is why I chose to take the day off of work to come here. With that being said, I do have a few points that I would like to bring up. And can you answer me, the person that was on the waiting list, are they still on a waiting list?
No.
Okay, I do find in a public school district to have a waiting list, that is not right. And I hope that our tax-paying students that were on that waiting list were put in this building before out-of-district, non-paying students were. You don't have to answer me whether it was or not, but I surely hope our tax-paying students were offered the chance to come back to school before non-district students who do not pay taxes here and do not pay tuition were offered the opportunity to come back. Because I know several district students that were on a waiting list, and it's not right. We are a public education system. Again, and getting all those kids back would be collaborating with your school districts to see how they're doing it. And I hope at this point there's nobody on a waiting list, because I don't feel that there should be. And another question, are the Chromebooks in yet?
No.
Okay, we are the only district too that does not have Chromebooks. We have students that are using their cell phones in classrooms to write reports. Can we not find these Chromebooks anywhere else when all of these other schools have them? These kids should not be writing reports using their cell phones. Again, it is unacceptable. We are in January now.
Mrs. Miller, and I'd like to respond, even though I'm not supposed to.
Yes.
My understanding is every student who wanted a device has been provided with a device. So either that's no longer true, or whoever is using their cell phone is doing it of their own volition, not because they haven't had a device, because our understanding was everybody who needed a device, maybe not a brand new one, but if you wanted a device, contact your administrator and they would get you a device. So I'm not sure why somebody is using a cell phone instead of their device.
I'll reply to that, because I specifically asked this question. We have a personal device that we use. So my question was, if we send our personal device in with our child, how is it going to work if two children were sharing the same device at home and needed it in school? Or how would it be replaced if, say, another kid knocked it off a desk or whatever, since it was our personal device? I was told the recommendation was not to bring them, and if they needed a device when they were in school, they would have it. So anybody who uses a home device that does not bring it in is where it comes in. Because I specifically asked what we were supposed to do, because at times my kids do share a device. So I needed to know how we were handling that in the classroom when families share a device. And I was told, don't send your personal devices.
Thank you.
Which most kids do have cell phones, so that's why it was used. And so there were a couple things here that were brought. The cheating, where it was, there'd be something put on the computers. Universities, and I can attest to this because one of our coaches at our facility, you can track, I'm not sure what the correct word is, but whatever like network you're using or whatever. I find that very much an invasion of privacy. If my nephew is at my house because his parents are doing something and they're working together, there's nothing wrong with that. And to be tracking people and where they're at and to find out if they're cheating, I don't want the district tracking me. That is very much an invasion. So I don't know if that's part of that program, to follow are they IP addresses maybe, or I don't know what they are, how it follows your internet server.
Well, I think what they'd need to do, working with various agents on things like this, they would have to actually, to find out, they'd have to get a warrant, okay, to find the IP address on your router through or whoever your provider is, okay? I don't think the school district's going to drill down into a warrant and want to actually see who owns that IP address, unless they're committing a crime or something.
Well,
that's between you and the provider who gives you the IP address, whatever your internet. If it's Atlantic Broadband or whoever it is, they would have the IP address. The school's not going to, I don't think you'd have any reason to look for that, would you?
We have.
Okay.
Right, there's your answer.
We have, yeah.
But I'm very uncomfortable with that.
But
ask them why. I can't answer.
We have looked at the IP address that a Chromebook has attached itself to yesterday, today, whenever. All we really wanted to know was inside our school district or was it outside our school district? That IP address is public information, and you can go and you can look up the IP address on multiple websites and it'll tell you who owns it, whether it's Atlantic Broadband, Comcast, Windstream, Verizon, or some other
Right.
ISP
You
with
would know
a,
that, but you wouldn't know the end user of
No.
that IP address. You understand?
So what happens when 2 or 3 or 4 students getting together outside any other time are working together? Students are working together outside of the district when they're on remote days. I mean, I'm telling you, my nephew and my daughter are very guilty of it. If he's at our house or he's at his grandmother's that lives next door, they're going to be using the same server.
But the question is, are they taking a test together?
Well, they haven't taken any tests together, no, but they have worked on work together, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the test is the key point.
Well, I can see if a family had 4 children, they had 4 devices in the house, it's going to see one IP address because that's the provider's, okay?
Correct.
So, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with 4 children doing their assignments in a house.
But where I'm talking is where it gets different families together. Trust
Well,
me,
if
we've
you're in the
all-
same building, now even if you're in different houses,
correct, like,
you may have different IP addresses.
no, like, we would have one at home, but if my nephew comes to our house and they're working on something together, then it's gonna show the same,
Same IP address,
right.
correct.
Then the cheating issue comes up. It might not necessarily be cheating, but they have worked together on homework. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. If he's there all day long, he has to do the work also.
There's nothing wrong.
So I feel like that could become a very big issue also. I put a few points on my phone, so I'm just looking. The YouTube, so that was brought up. I don't know if it is still going on at this point in time, but I do know at the beginning of the year, teachers were not posting videos, and instead they were linking the kids to YouTube to learn things. I thought that is part of where the YouTube open-endedness came up and where it starts. Our kids should not be learning from YouTube. Our kids should be learning from our teachers. So I feel by now that should have been corrected, but I do know at the very beginning of the year, there were many times we were sent YouTube video links to educate our children, which is wrong. I don't feel any kid should be, any teacher should be linking to YouTube for their assignments. And is there a goal to get us to go back to 5 days a week? So we did mention cyber school. I will tell you, if this continues the way it is, we are 100% looking at cyber school because it's not working. So with having a cyber school and getting our teachers back to work 5 days, the students that are on remote full-time now, why can't they be using our cyber program and then letting our teachers teach 5 days a week? Because we're to that point where it's probably going to last the rest of the year that these kids are going to stay in remote. So is putting them into the cyber program so our teachers can teach 5 days a week an option?
It is an option. It is an option. We will have, which is fine. However, I'm not quite sure that that's the reason why students want to go to a cyber. I think that some of the reasons that the kids used was it's easier. Cybers, what I kept hearing was the socialness of being back here. And when they came back, a lot of them came back and went back to remote because of the reasons that were shared by our student population. That concerns me because the kids aren't here. Why aren't they here? Why aren't they here? Because they're socializing at home with each other, so they don't have to get up and come. So, I do have a very strict idea on how to make that stop. I go by facts. I don't listen to rumors. The students that came back on Monday the 11th, in the high school specifically, and the 12th, those students should be back in school. we had them coming back to school. They were on the list, they wanted to come back, they came back. For many reasons, and you can think of some, I could say some, and I'm not going to say any that I'm thinking because it's all hearsay. And that disappoints me, why they decided to not stay in school. And the parents allowed that to happen. So my plan, and I have shared this with Mr. Aaron, is to have any student that came on the 11th and had put that they want to come back, they need to come back. They need to come back, or they need to be online at each lesson at that time the teacher is live streaming. The high school is totally live streamed at this time. So if they want to come back, then that's their choice. They get on and they do every lesson, every class, watch every one from home for the school day. They come back. I wasn't going to share that, but we are being transparent here. And that is why I said to Mr. Parker, I'm done with the cheating issue. Cheating happens, but to make a decision to go to do something so that can happen is not okay. Parents here do not raise children that way. Our teachers do not raise the children that way. We have lost our integrity with that. They need to be back. And that will bring students back because that will be the option.
So is our true cyber, not remote, taught by our own students? Or is it hired through another district or IU?
Well, what it is it's what a lot of schools are using, and I'm going to put this in here. I apologize for all the discussion, but we felt that our remote, to have their own teacher, not knowing, we started the year everybody here, and not knowing where everything was going to go, that the teachers are the teachers of the kids in the class, whether they were home or not. And in retrospect, is that the best? We haven't talked about that as much. I still do it because it gives that personal, it's their teacher, especially elementary school. A lot of schools are using a product that they buy, and if a kid's remote, there's no interaction with the teacher. The teacher schedules a curriculum, and the kids go in and do it. There's no interaction, and it's not the curriculum of the school district. Our remote students are getting the CL school district curriculum, which in a sense, in education, what we've learned, should close that gap with other schools that are not doing that. So to answer your question, if we put on an Edmentum Cyber, it will not have a teacher. They will do it on their own, and we have our teachers here in the school correct activities that Edmentum gives them, the students, to do. And Mrs. Pence oversees enrolling all of them into that.
Okay, I think you just answered your own question there of how to get the students to pull back in the district though. Those students that were here on Monday, if their options are a true cyber program or 5 days a week, you're probably going to pull probably 1% of those kids back into school 5 days a week, which would also alleviate a lot of work on the teachers for the extra hours and the Wednesday and the remote and everything else. I think we need to look at 5 days a week, and I'm not saying doing both because it is a lot of work for the teachers, and I totally understand that. But I think if you give the option of a full cyber, since it is a cyber through our district, or they have to come back 5 days a week, I can bet you the majority of them are going to come back 5 days a week in person, which does alleviate a lot of work on the teachers.
We have talked to the teachers about that as well. And we had a discussion earlier, we went around to the buildings with some of the board members, and we were talking about that as well, to teachers.
Because so far I have not others. There are several teachers. I mean, we got a progress report for our son that he was getting an F in a class. The teacher hadn't graded anything in a month. He actually had a B. But I got 2 progress reports on it. That's not acceptable. Where if the teachers are actually being able to teach and that's it, things would be more upbeat and the kids would actually be learning. I don't feel the remote is working.
Well, and I do want to say one other thing. We have all the kids back. You know, we are insubstantial, and I understand other schools are coming back 5 days a week and all the kids. All their kids are not back. They are on cyber or another program. They're not all back. 60% of some of those school districts are not all back. They used to stay onto that.
I don't think you're ever going to get all of the students back. I think since we
agree with that.
So we've got to do and pull back those kids that are going to be back.
And when we started school in Low, all the kids were here. When you're insubstantial, we'll bring them back, bring them all back. But the attestation form that I signed to say that I am sure that I'm following the guidelines, I don't care if they're suggested or not. They have been, as much as you showed what you showed, I have other things that I've been given by my people above me about what to do about 6 foot. You can ask any one of them. I was just in a classroom, and what did I say? Did I care that it was 6 feet exactly? No, I said it. I don't care that it's 6 feet. I'm fine with 5.5, 5. The part where you're reading about when feasible, that is an example of when you're walking down a hallway and another class is, you're not going to be 6 feet apart. You can't make those kids stand 6 feet apart to get their lunch. It's not human. That's where the feasible part comes. But we can make it so that they have 5.5, 6 foot distance to avoid quarantines. And again, I follow the recommendations of my school nurse, and that is what we do. So if everybody comes back and that happens, and there has to be, someone gets quarantined, the community needs to know that's going to happen. Because we're not going to be able to keep them that far apart, everybody in the school.
And I do understand that, and I understand that there are going to be quarantine. We are going to be quarantining for who knows how long from here. It's part of what we're living right now. I do get that.
I'm hoping you're wrong. I'm hoping we're seeing the positive side of things. I really do. But I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, and who would have ever known? I didn't think we'd school when we did. So you just never know. So
I would just really like to see the kids back to 5 days a week. And like I said, if we do have a cyber program, your options are cyber or in school, that does alleviate a lot of work for the teachers also to get the students back in the classroom. So, and I'm not quite sure, like a lot of my one child's classrooms, they have 12. What happens when the 13th kid comes back? Do you rotate one child out every day into an overflow classroom? Or do you make extra room? Like, how is that gonna work?
that takes a lot of planning on Mrs. Taylor's part and Mr. Aaron's part, and they do it daily. Because some rooms can have that many, some rooms can't. Depends on the grade level and how many kids are in that grade level and how many teachers we have.
Right, but if there's one extra, making one different kid every class go to an overflow, that it's going to rotate through the other 12 kids, that every day somebody different is going to an overflow classroom?
I cannot answer that. They can. I know one philosophy is to keep that same person so it's consistent for that kid.
That's not fair to kid either.
That's one, I don't know what exactly they're doing. That's one philosophy, but then the other philosophy is to change it out. But some parents have actually asked for their child to be, they're in the overflow room, to stay there. They don't want them coming back and forth.
Okay, I mean, that's fair. That's definitely
And I don't know, Mr. Aaron and Mrs. Taylor, I'm sharing, I don't know if I'm answering everything 100% accurate, but this is what we've talked about.
I guess I just
I
haven't.
can tell you there is at least one class where what you said, they rotate. They rotate one out.
Mhm. So every day somebody, one different child going out, which is hard on the kids too.
It is. And
But I guess what I'm looking at is there really is no plan for 5 days a week. Nobody has said anything, what the plan is to get us back to 5 days a
Mrs.
week.
Mellon, I could just correct you. I am pushing for that myself. I've been pushing for that since October. My suggestion was is that we have the 5 when the board votes to move us to the low transmission phase.
Okay,
So the board hasn't done that. We most recently moved from severe to moderate, but we haven't moved to low. But that has been something, and I appreciate you taking time off to take the day off to come in and talk to us. But several of us board members are in favor of that, I believe. I know I am, and we are pushing for that. But there again, there's a lot of factors. Obviously, you understand there are a lot of things we heard about today are continuity with the children, and we don't want to grab the wheel and start turning a whole lot. We're trying to get us to go in the direction that you're talking about, but we're trying to do it in a responsible fashion that considers all the different stakeholders, the parents, the teachers, the students, I mean, all parties involved. So, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I wanted to let you know, as one of your representatives, I am pushing for that.
yeah, I just alleviate a lot of work on the teachers' part also, where they wouldn't have to do the roads if we could get as many back as possible 5 days a week.
And that's one thing too that people need to understand. That's what makes us different than other districts, as I understand it. The ones that are back is their teachers, their classroom teachers are not the ones that are teaching the kids that are on remote. They have that Edmentum, or they have another. I mean, there are staff members that are teaching, but it's a different track. It's not the same as ours. What we've tried to do, because we take pride in our teachers, is we wanted our teachers to be the one educating our students, and we've tried to give that to everybody.
Right.
So, David said about that at the last meeting. We're trying to give everybody the option of our teachers educate them, but obviously we've got a lot of different people with a lot of different opinions on how that should be, so we're trying to balance that out.
Okay, absolutely, thank you.
I will say, I said this either last meeting or to the board in an executive. When we are in low phase, we will be back 5 days, because we are going to do just what you said. I just can't do now because we're in substantial and you still have to follow some guidelines.
Right, and I understand at the beginning of the year was to learn the remote learning aspect, but I feel at this point in time, all of the kids are very well aware of how the Google Classrooms work and the remote aspect of it. That if we should have to close school again, they all function and learn and do everything and pick up right where they left off. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comment?
Rhonda Shook, I reside in Clarion Township. Everyone at the table obviously knows I'm a teacher, but I also have been a taxpayer of Clarion-Limestone for over 20 years. My daughter is a junior at the high school. My experience with the whole educational realm since school started is different than the experiences you've just heard about. My daughter returned to in-person instruction as we checked on her form, and she was welcome back. Wasn't on a late waiting list. No issues, no questions asked, no problems. She has not needed a device in the building while she's been here. We too use a personal device. I questioned her. She wanted to bring it. I was okay with that. She said we have what we need. So there was no need for her to have a device when she's in the building. In early November, she had an exposure in the classroom and was quarantined for 2 weeks because the 6-foot distancing was not being as strictly adhered to in the fall as it is now. So now this excessive quarantine should have the potential of being avoided because we're making the efforts to keep the distance greater. So there's a greater chance the children that are in person will have the opportunity to be in person. It's currently not pre-COVID, it's during COVID. So as much as myself, I think anybody here, 100 people listening, we want to be done with COVID, we're not. So we can't pretend to go pre-COVID, it's not pre-COVID. Mask breaks happen, cannot speak for every student in the district, every teacher in the district. My daughter's classrooms all have mask breaks. My classroom has multiple mask breaks throughout the day. We set a timer, they take turns. They're 6 and 7 years old. They know when the timer rings, whose turn it is. They know when the timer rings again. They put the mask on, and we take turns. I'm confident other grade levels can do that too. My daughter's been fine, whether she's learning in person or learning remotely. She is a good student, but there have not been issues. YouTube is used as a supplement. I even use YouTube when I'm teaching in person. I explain a concept. I use YouTube sometimes to reinforce. The little dancers on YouTube are often more entertaining than me. So, I can't speak for all. It's used as a supplement, not a direct instructional tool. Cyber school is remote. If your quest is to return to in-person instruction, why would you choose cyber school? No matter who's offering it. It's remote, it's not live, it's not authentic. If you want to be in person, come back. And cyber school is not, as you mentioned, our CL curriculum. So students have an extremely extended access using a different curriculum than what we offer, and they return, even if it's next August when they return, they're a year out. We're already lost learning, we already have gaps. Now you've missed a whole year of your homegrown curriculum, and you've got to come back. So our experience at mine has been positive.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on with our agenda. There is no old business under item 15, so going to new business, item 16. Consideration for approval to adopt a resolution not to raise the 2021-22 real estate taxes above the index of 4.2%.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Is there discussion? Okay, no discussion. Donna, this will be a roll call vote.
Rebecca Allison? Yes. Joe Malott?
Yes.
Dave Eggleton?
Yes.
Kathy Henry? Yes. Nathaniel Parker?
Yes.
Roger Powell?
Yes.
Dave Sherman?
Yes.
Gary Sproul?
Yes.
Okay, motion's passed. Moving to item B, consideration for approval to adopt a resolution establishing tax collector compensation for collection of real estate per capita taxes beginning for the 4-year term of the tax collector commencing on the first Monday in January of 2022. And you can see below there the numbers and so forth. Do I have a motion for that? Thank you. A second?
Second.
Okay. Is there discussion? Okay, no discussion. We'll roll call vote, please.
Joe Malott?
Yes.
Yes.
Kathy Henry? Yes. Nathaniel Parker?
Yes.
Roger Powell?
Yes.
Dave Sherman?
Yes.
Gary Sproul?
Yes.
Rebecca Allison? Yes.
Okay, motion's passed. Item C, roll call vote will be consideration for approval move from the Delta Dental system to the United Concordia Dental system, providing the same coverages. Is there a second? Is there a second? Okay, thank you. Discussion. Okay, no discussion. Okay, roll call please, Donna.
Dave Eggleton?
Yes.
Kathy Henry? Yes. Nathaniel Parker?
Yes.
Roger Powell?
Yes.
Dave Sherman?
Yes.
Yes.
Rebecca Allison? Yes. Joe Malott?
Yes.
Okay, motion's passed. Item D, consideration for approval of the business manager to research a money market account at a local bank for the Capital Projects Fund, providing the best interest rate without fees. Okay, is there a second? Thank you. Discussion. Okay, seeing no discussion, this is another roll call vote.
Dave Eggleton?
Yes.
Kathy Henry? Yes. Nathaniel Parker?
Yes.
Roy Powell?
Yes.
Dave Sherman?
Yes?
Gary Sproul?
Yes.
Rebecca Allison? Yes. Joe Malott?
Yes.
Okay, motion's passed. Item E, consideration for approval of the business manager to invest $375,000 in funds from a Betty H. Willison scholarship account, matured CD at the highest CD rate option is allowable for a government entity. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion.
The question would be, this doesn't change what we can use the funds for, correct? Okay, so it's still subject to whatever the stipulation, but we're just gonna give more interest on it?
The CDS insurance are going to reinvest it.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Kathy Henry? Yes. Dan Parker?
Yes.
Roger Powell?
Yes.
Dave Schummer?
Yes?
Gary Stoll?
Yes.
Rebecca Allison? Yes. Joe Balot?
Yes.
Dave Eggleton?
Yes.
Okay, motion's passed. Item F, consideration for approval of the 2020-21 supplemental contracts for the virtual school play. And you see the folks listed there below. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion.
How is this play going to be done? I mean, what you said virtual, or is it going to be like people able to come see it, or is it just totally, I mean, with parents and that, I mean, it's, I just want, what's it going to be like?
Well, I don't know all the details except my daughter's in it, and they at this time have been taking a video camera home supplied by Ms. Truman, and they have recorded set segments of what their little section is, that they each have a little part, but they're kind of individual parody. They record that and then comes back to school and it goes home to another student, and I believe the teachers that are part of that team will then merge all of those in one presentation, but I'm not sure how it's to be shared.
Mr. Aaron, do we know, is it going to be like a streamed thing, or how is it going to be purveyed?
I do not know.
Okay, other discussion?
I'm being approved as one of those, and I can share that we're exploring platforms, speaking with schools. I'm Christina Best. We're exploring platforms and talking to other schools about how they're getting their virtual performances out. I know in my niece's school district, they were able to open the window, so to speak, so it was like you were attending, but you were just attending virtually. We're working on a platform like to figure out how to get that out there. The play is aptly called 10 Ways to Survive a Quarantine, and it is actually set up to be filmed the way it's filming, so it's perfect, and it's funny, and it's light, and it gives the kids an opportunity, even in the kind of situation we are. So a creative activity. And like I said, we're exploring platforms that we're able to present it in keeping it with the guidelines of the rights on it. And more information will follow. We were hoping to have it ready to present in December. However, given that we did go 100% remote, we have gained permission after the month of March to figure out all of dot the i's and cross the t's on all of the logistics of it. But thank you for giving the kids the opportunity to have this experience, even in the way that we're currently, trying to go through our activities.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Danny Parker?
Yes.
Roger Powell?
Yes.
Dave Schummer?
Yes.
Gary Stoll?
Yes.
Rebecca Allison? Yes. Joe Balot?
Yes.
Dave Eggleton?
Yes.
Kathy Henry? Yes.
The motion's passed. Item G on your agenda, consideration for approval to increase the current teacher day-to-day teacher substitute rate from $100 to, we're going to have to discuss this, for the remainder of the school year.
Is this gonna help us get subs? I thought there just wasn't subs out there to be brought in.
Well, the idea is that there are substitutes in other school districts that would maybe come to us because we're paying more. That was,
A lot of the other school districts went ahead and contracted long-term subs. I know that's what happened in some schools. So, you think by enticing with more money, we're going to leave that district?
I am not necessarily saying it's just me. It was a suggestion made by a board member as well. And at first I did not like the idea. However, I have talked to some substitutes in other places, and I'm not talking Clarion County, other areas, if the pay was more. They'd rather be here than where they're at.
So what is somebody recommending that number to be?
I made the recommendation that we increase the pay. I didn't have a number because I don't know. I'd like to hear from the administration as far as what they recommend. My thought was to make us competitive. As I look at it, you're trading time for money, and if we're not getting people to sign up, we're not doing a trade. So my thought was to sweeten the deal and maybe get more people to come in. But I don't know what the number is. I don't know what the other districts charge,
The other districts pay would be my question.
and I don't know the answer.
We are the highest paid in Clarion County, $100 a day for subs.
We're the highest paid.
But they're like $5 difference, like 95, 90. And I will tell you why I didn't believe it would work is because of that, because they're just so close. We're talking about a substantial increase, not just $5, so that would be the enticement.
So what kind of an amount are you looking at?
Christy, do you have any, I mean, you can throw any number out there. I really didn't have a number.
But, you know what I mean, like what kind of number are you talking about if we're already at the high?
If we have, if we still have COVID money available and we can use that to cover the substitutes, I would recommend 150. I think 110 is highest regionally. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's an area school district that pays $1 a day for a sub. I think, and that's a lot, but we could also maybe entice more people to get guest teacher status as well. We do have a couple people who are grad students at the university. They have a bachelor's degree, they have classes 3 days a week, but they could get a guest teacher and make maybe potentially $300 a week just coming in 2 days. I wasn't part of the conversation. I'm in favor of doing whatever we need to get people to help us.
How short are you, Casey?
What?
How short are you?
Every day it's a scramble. Every day it's a scramble.
Well-
I just stole one from Mel for tomorrow.
Yeah, and guess what? After you did that, 3 more needed. So we are, Mel, am I correct?
Trying our best, covering classes ourselves, but we can't sustain that.
How many have you been needing in the last couple days? How many is needed in the elementary?
Well, with the overflow room, that kind of changes, it increases the number more than normal. But outside of the overflow rooms, I would say at least every day we've been worked and had to scramble. Is that similar in your building?
The elementary school's been hit worse. We've been able to kind of shift and everything. Tomorrow's gonna be our first real big challenge in high school.
I would say substantial enough that it would pay very well on gas money.
I'm here, and I would recommend to go at 125 only for the remainder of the school year.
That's what the motion, yeah, just the
Yeah,
remainder.
I would make that as a motion for 125 for the remainder of the school year.
So,
I think because we are at a critical time here where we're needing subs and we really need to make this, it's going to be my recommendation to follow Christie's suggestion of, for the remainder of this school year, $150 per day for our substitutes and guest teachers.
Okay, any other, what do we want to, what number are we going to put in there?
So we have two motions? There's two
Well,
amounts now.
yeah, there was a motion that Gary had for 125. Gary, do you want to amend your motion, or do you want to leave it alone?
I'll go with that.
Okay, well,
Because she gave
Gary wants to amend his motion to 150. And using, that's for the end, till the end of, only till the end of this year. Okay?
And are we gonna try to eliminate the overflow rooms, because I heard a lot of this.
When we do not have to follow 6-foot distancing, I am happy to remove the overflows. The 6-foot distancing guarantees us to say, if a child is positive, that we're not quarantining 12, 15, 20 kids and their families. That is a major concern, and staff members being close, the more kids that are in a room, the closer the staff members are to students. So I can't say that it's indefinite at this point.
I'm gonna ask you personally to look at the rooms, please.
I have,
You have?
yes. Look at the rooms about their spacing.
Exactly.
I absolutely have.
You have?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
And you can't put another student in any of them rooms.
I have squeezed in people daily.
I disagree with that. I looked at it tonight, and there's filing cabinets and extra tables and all that kind of stuff that could come out of the rooms, so we're not singling kids out and putting them in there. So I'd ask you to relook at possible other options if you would, please.
Can I just say my 2 filing cabinets in my classroom are tight up against the wall. So even if I take them out, that student's going to be sitting, touching, facing the front wall. Because if the
Well, I
person,
looked at your room because it wasn't necessary.
well, so if you didn't look at all the rooms, it's difficult to make a blanket.
I see rooms that said 14, and I knew it more, at least 4, if not 5 more students. If we clean the room out.
Well, where will my materials go then that
I'm
I'll
not
need
talking
to
to you,
access?
I'm talking to your principal.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
There is a concern, there's a concern that we've removed a lot of furniture already. I don't know. Is Bob still here?
I shared with ones that came. We have 2 storage places that are full of teacher supplies that have been moved out, and also the greenhouse section is full. But we can buy another, did we buy those? Buy another one if we need to do that.
But, I mean, I think a lot of parents, a lot of the complaining is singling the kids out, putting them in the overflow room. Why am I sending them back to school?
Well, no, I've spent a lot of time in the overflow rooms too, and they've been going well. The kids are working, I check in with them. What?
I'm not saying they're not going well.
Okay.
I'm just saying that students are getting singled out, and it could end up being a problem down the road when they can fit in the room.
Yes, today. Some of them were 7, 7.5, one was over 8 feet between students in a couple rows, where we could have actually, in that room we could put 3 more desks in there.
Christy, do you get complaints to you from parents about the overflow rooms and their children going there?
No, not yet.
If I could just interject here just very quickly, because I am a parent of a child that was in the overflow room. And he did totally fine. He did, the live stream of the classroom that his classroom was doing, he was part of that live stream from the library. He was in the library. He was, he had his own space and he was able to do that. And really enjoyed that and thought that it was a treat, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying every kid would think that, but he kind of felt that it was very special that he got to be in the library, he got to be, I'm not exactly sure which teachers were there. I know Shelley Hunter was there, and they were very helpful to him in all of his work. If he needed help, he was able to do his work well, and still connect with the class and still have lunch with all the other students. And I do think certain grades and certain students are thinking of it as a reward.
Okay, we have a motion here. Consideration. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so the motion's been moved and seconded. Consideration for approval to increase the current teacher day-to-day teacher substitute rate from $100 to $150 for the remainder of the 2020-21 school year. And it's been moved and seconded. Okay, this would be a roll call vote.
Roger Pat.
Yes.
Dave Shermer.
Yes.
Gary School.
Yes.
Rebecca Allison. Yes. Joe Lamar.
Yes.
Dave Edelman.
Yes.
Kathy Henry. Yes. Nathaniel Parker.
Yes.
Okay, motion's passed. Move to item H. Consideration for approval of the following day-to-day substitutes for the 2020-21 school year pending receipt of all required legal documentation. You can see them below. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. Okay, seeing no discussion, this is another roll call vote.
Dave Shermer.
Yes.
Gary School.
Yes.
Rebecca Allison. Yes. Joe Lamar.
Yes.
Dave Edelman. Kathy Henry. Yes. Nathaniel Parker.
Yes.
Roger Powell.
Yes.
Motion's passed. Item I, consideration for retroactive approval to purchase 80 backlit LED flat panel lighting fixtures for the elementary school with capital project funds in the amount of $4,235. Is there, okay, thank you. Discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Gary School.
Yes.
Rebecca Allison. Yes. Joe Lamar.
Yes.
Dave Edelman.
Yes.
Kathy Henry. Yes. Tucker.
Yes.
Roger Powell.
Yes.
Dave Shermer.
Yes. Okay, item J, consideration for approval to purchase an ice-o-matic ice maker cube style from Trimark for the athletic training use with general funds in the amount of $2,985.
That is not budget, that's why it's on the agenda. It's the ice machine that they use for all the athletics, and it, but, I don't know if Bob's still here, he could explain more. We had multiple, it took a while, he did get several different prices, went to several different fabricators, and this seemed to be the best price that fit for what he needed for that time.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, roll call vote.
Rebecca Allison. Yes. Joe Lamar.
Yes.
Dave Edelman.
Yes.
Kathy Henry. Yes. Nathaniel Parker.
Yes.
Roger Powell.
Yes.
Dave Shermer.
Yes.
Gary School.
Yes.
Okay, motion's passed. Item K, consideration for approval to increase the district's internet connection from 250 megabits per second to 1,000 megabits per second for a monthly increase of $234.38.
Motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. I have a question on this, Max. Okay, and this is still through Zito Media, correct?
That is correct.
And what will be the burst on this? I was under the impression the 250 would burst to a megabyte.
No, it would burst to 500.
Oh, the 250 would burst to 500?
That is correct.
And what will the 1,000 burst?
No, it will not, because we have a 1 gigabit circuit. It will not get any higher than that.
You mean Vito, it's a 1 gig circuit?
That is correct.
Okay, that's their fiber. Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay, roll call?
Yes.
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 Okay, motion's passed. Item L, let's do L through S unless somebody wants to pull one out. Please look at your agendas, L through S, unless somebody,
About R, I had some questions.
you would like to pull R out and vote separately on that? Okay,
I'd like to pull out L.
you would like to pull out L. Okay, well, let's do L then. Consideration for approval to accept the resignation of Andrea Stewart as payroll and benefits manager effective January 29, 2021.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I would just like direction from the board on what they should go from here. Post, then advertise, interview. with
We
the-
had a good second candidate there too, didn't we?
I checked
believe
that.
I was part of that interview.
I would recommend advertising the position like we do anything else, right?
Advertise,
Advertise, interview.
and board will interview the final two.
And then in the interim of this person, we'll do it as soon as we can we have an interim person come in, maybe who's retired, that has helped us before, or someone who's done some night work for us? I don't know.
I would view like a substitute teacher, yes, as long as they have the credentials or whatever you need them to have.
It's like a substitute teacher, not what we do.
You would pay like a substitute.
No, I think he was saying it was,
I would view the substitute, yeah.
I mean,
So you bring a support staff person in, and a substitute support staff, right?
I'm not saying it's support staff person per se, I'm saying, I think she's saying.
It's a temporary spot until they can get someone, a temporary person that has done this kind of work before, has maybe retired from us or something.
That's what we did. We brought in a retired person. One time we had some people that could come in after their other work, or work at home for some hours and do some work for us. But I don't know if we, Donna, do we have to do a contract with them to do that, or do we just tell them how much they're gonna get paid, or? We don't do a contract. So it's a very good part of our business manager. How do we get that? We use the sum, we use the pay for the personnel. Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, is there any other discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the resignation, say aye. Aye, opposed, no. Motion's carried. Okay, let's do M through S, but pulling out R, then we'll talk about R. Okay, do I have a motion to approve M through S, pulling out R? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, any discussion?
The linear algebra class, is that for this year?
No,
Like it's-
that'll be for the fall. That'll be.
Okay, for the 21,
Yeah,
22 school year.
it'll be offered on the offer sheets for the students for the 21-22 school year start.
So that date is wrong. It says 2021, should that be 21-22?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we need to amend that then. Your paper, put in there 21-22 school year. Okay? Any other discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, this is no roll call. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion's passed. And then looking specifically now at item R, consideration for approval to authorize the administration to seek bids for the 2021-22 general and art supplies, custodial signs, VOAG, wood, and metal shop supplies. Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion.
Yeah, I have a question about the general supplies stuff. Can you explain all that includes general supplies?
Yeah, I just want to make note too that this motion is a motion that you make every year. General supplies, if we didn't buy from a CoStar's contractor, would have to go out for bids because of the amount of supplies that we purchase for the school year. We normally, for general supplies, do use CoStar's vendor. Also with custodial supplies, we usually use a CoStar's vendor, so we don't normally go out for bid for those. This gives us the opportunity if we didn't use those purchasing agencies or those contracts that we are committed to.
So that doesn't include, like, since we had been, like, we bought all these coach books this year, stuff for PSSA, other things, that's not under the general, that's something different.
Right. Textbooks isn't under the general supplies category.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear.
But we will, like I said, this motion's on the agenda all the time, every year, but we will, as direct board, 2 years ago, last year didn't do it because of COVID, we will be sending out bid requests for the ag department supplies.
Well, I would like to see bid requests for art, athletics, science, all the shops, bid requests for all that. Why not? Because there are different medical supply companies, art supply companies, science, there's NASCA, there's, you know.
Right. I guess I should have stated that. Some of the art supplies we do buy from one of the CoStar's vendors.
Oh, okay.
So things that we don't buy,
Yeah.
we can seek bids for that. There is a new, Amazon is now considered part of Pelham, that you can use that as purchasing position. So this motion is for the items that we have bought for bid for.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
When will the, also, just for other supplies, have the teachers received their, request forms to fill out, or is that still on hold?
No, they just have been sent out. We're requesting to have those back by February 1st to start going through those. The high school went out, I believe, this week. The Kurt's order, the high school still needs to go out. It'll probably go out at the end of this week. Tricia and Mel and I are supposed to tomorrow, and the elementaries went out. I'm not exactly sure on the date that Christy and Chris sent that out, but it has been sent out.
is there any other discussion on item R? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Thank you, motion's passed. Need one more motion?
I make a motion we adjourn into executive for interview and personnel.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, thank you.
The board is going to leave for 5 minutes so that you can get your things